Hello, and welcome to your weekly juice. Tips and advice on how to boost your confidence, conquer self-doubt, and keep you pumped all week. I'm Louisa Jewell, author of Wire Your Brain for Confidence, The Science of Conquering Self-Doubt. And today, I am just so thrilled to be here today with my friend, Mark Groves. Thank you so much for being here, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. How could I not talk about something that has the title Juice in it?
Yeah, that's right. And Mark, I love your Instagram posts. For any of you who are not familiar, and there's probably not a lot of people who are not familiar with Mark Groves' Instagram postings on it's called Create the Love. And Mark, I have to tell you that every time I read a post, I am just beside myself. Your insights are incredible. You make me think about things. I love myself more when I read them. It makes my relationships better. They're just so lovely and so incredible. I know that you have such a huge following because people just love your stuff. How do you do it?
Oh, well, thank you so much for all of that. You know what, my real effort is to write about the things that I've struggled at and then the things I've learned. And I think maybe the main part of it that makes it is that it's relatable. It's like, I don't write from like an ivory tower with just an academic perspective. It's like, I really write about like, I'm in the trenches with you. I'm just learning stuff a lot and I'm never done. And I think that's the thing that just sort of bonds us as humans, is this understanding that none of us have it figured out. And the moment we can just accept that, so it's like, maybe it's a support group for people who actually appreciate and understand that none of us have it figured out. But here's some ideas that actually might work.
Yeah, well, I just think you have a wisdom beyond your years, and I just tell you, it's incredible, really. So, if you're not following Mark, you have to follow him. Create the Love on Instagram, and he's on Facebook as well. If you search him, I'll have all the links below. But today, I wanted to reach out to Mark because Mark, I attended your incredible conference workshop that you did at the Canadian Positive Psychology Association conference recently, and it was fabulous. And, I thought about my own journey. So as you know, I've been recently divorced. So I guess in October, it will be 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I consider myself to be a pretty confident woman. I'm pretty confident about myself. I feel good. I have a positive body image and, so I feel good. But then when it came to dating, that confidence kind of just went out the window. It's like I had no confidence when I started dating again. And so I thought I really wanted to ask you, what can people do, men and women, what can we do if we've kind of lost our confidence when it comes to dating and relationships?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is that automatically when you start dating, everyone gets anxious in a new dating experience because you don't know where you fit. There's not really a lot of safety and security in new connections because we don't understand each other. So, I sort of go to the question of, I just ask myself something like, hey, if I was enough, what would I do? That becomes like the guiding question to the actions I take, because, what inevitably happens is that we are taught to place our self-worth in our relationship status. And what I mean by that is we sort of have a hierarchy within relationship. If you're married, you're sort of considered a little more successful than someone who's engaged, and someone who's engaged is better than someone who's dating, and dating's better than single. And, and we even sort of lower it for divorced, right? Like we have this perception that divorce is failure. And I hate that saying, because relations ending is not failure. It's often a new beginning of something different. And right away we shame the divorced, and that creates also sort of like a place where we can't talk openly about how beautiful is it that someone can learn from such a beautiful experience. They might have chosen themselves in that process. Like there's so many beautiful pieces to it. So I really began to recognize that what happens a lot of the time is that we believe we're worthy of being chosen if someone chooses us. And that inevitably shifts the power in the dating process, because what's happening is instead of making the world respond to me. I'm responding to the world. So if you choose me, if you're not texting me back, then I'm going to change the way I text. And it's really more taking this position of power of saying, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to look at some of the things I do that might be anxiety provoking or whatever it is. And just building a sense of relational awareness. The more you understand why you do what you do, or when you're prone to anxiety, or does that come a bit from my past experiences, the more empowered you can be. You know, like if you come from being, just having a relationship end, it makes sense that we might be timid to enter into a relationship.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I like this idea of the power. You're right. Why would I give my power away? Right. This entering into a relationship is just it's also about me and what do I want and how am I going to enhance your life? How am I going to enhance my life through this relationship? It's not just, I'm just waiting for you to come and pick me.
Yeah, totally. Because that becomes this, if you change the concept of dating to sorting, like ultimately what dating is it's sorting. It's saying like, is this person a good fit? There's so many algorithms that are going on, right? Yeah. And so when you can start to see it as, wow, if you can date enough people where you get this experience where you're like, I like these things and I don't like these things, you start to move from a scarce concept. I was working with this client who said every time she dates someone and has a connection, any connection, she suffers from last man on earth syndrome. And I love that saying because she said that she sort of like loses her mind and all of a sudden all her standards go out the window. But when she started to think of this concept of sorting, then it gave a more abundant approach of like, wow, there's a lot of people out there. Right. Is this person actually for me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just such a different concept to think like you're in a selection process. You're not waiting to be selected.
Yes, exactly. But that's hard to make that shift sometimes, Mark. Like, how do I, you can tell people that, but how do I start really believing that I have this self-worth, that I am worthy, that, one day somebody is going to, I am going to find a mutual connection. How do I boost my confidence if I really don't believe that?
Yeah, that's sort of the conundrum of it all, isn't it? Like, well, it's great to learn a bunch of stuff, but how do I actually do the thing that you're telling me about? I'm always drawn back to the idea that words don't teach. Like you can learn a ton of stuff by listening, but you don't learn until you do anything. So experience is the greatest teacher. And when I'm working with people and they're selecting what is not good for them or what is not the relationship for them, I always get very clear on what are they actually looking for, like getting rid of the BS and getting right to the truth, like not being afraid to declare what you actually truly want and not being afraid that it doesn't match what someone else wants. That's huge. Like we don't want an intention mismatch because no one wins. The second part of that is like what you actually choose is reflective of what we believe. So if we believe that we're worthy of a great relationship, we have to choose that. But what often happens is people will pick something that's not necessarily it, or a person who's maybe not so great. And you either have the choice to either let this relationship go or invite them to grow into what you want, or you have to shift what you believe about yourself to match them. So, that idea that everything that is outside of you is a reflection of what you believe about yourself is so true in that, because what you believe about yourself will be as strong as your weakest choice.
Yes.
And that's why that's true of the foods we choose, the exercise. It's that idea of how we do one thing is how we do everything. I think relationally is a magnifying glass to all of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And, I find too that the happier I am, the easier it is because I'm just happy and I really don't need anything or anyone to be happy, but I still drive around with my taxi light on. That's what I like.
Well, I love that. And as soon as you let go of this idea that you have to coerce the universe, that you have to convince God, that you have to make sure that you walk down this one place because the person you're to date is at this coffee shop at this time. Yeah. Like it's so stressful to even think that you have to like coerce everything to make serendipity or synchronicity. When really, like, I remind people all the time that life can just, in a frickin' second, life changes. Yes. And the moment you're open with the taxi light on and you're at a place, you could just strike up a conversation with the person who's your next person that you would have never known was them if you weren't in a different frame of mind. You know, much like just the science of optimism or the science of luck, even, that we can learn how to just be open. And you know, confirmation bias too. Like, I don't believe there's any good men or women out there. You're never going to find a good man or woman because you're going to seek what to reaffirm what you believe. So I'm very like mindful of what we believe.
I think that's so important, because if I really believe that I am worthy and that I am a good person, that I'm a good catch, right? Then when I go places, I probably will be more open to talking to people and say, you know, yeah, I'm going to talk to you and you probably want to talk to me because I'm kind of a cool person, you know?
Yeah, and you won't settle for any crap. And I think of like Barbara Fredrickson's Broaden and Build theory, right? Like, if you're more open and more positive, in a more positive, grateful state, you're going to see more. Your vision is wide open. You're going to see that person you might not have seen because you normally are PO'd and you're walking down the street like mad that someone cut you off or something, you know?
That's right. Well, I love it. Okay. Well, that's great. So really it's about, you know, to have that confidence, start with yourself. Start with really believing and shifting your belief about yourself, and that confidence is going to come.
Yeah. If you, and you know, the idea that you won't believe it till you see it, in that you have to actually make the choice that actually supports the belief. So beliefs are symbiotic with choice. So you have to make the choice that reaffirms the belief, which then reaffirms more choices. So right. It's like people who have great boundaries communicate to themselves that they have high self-worth. They also communicate to others that they love themselves. And in saying a boundary, like, that's not okay, or this isn't what I want, you send the message to yourself, and then you get better boundaries. So it's like this beautiful synergistic experience. As you know, you said earlier, you gotta actually do the thing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
You don't get to think about the thing and talk about the thing. You actually got to do the thing.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you. That's some great advice. And I just really appreciate so much that you've taken the time to be here today to share your incredible wisdom with our Juice audience. And I know, Mark, you're kind of busy this month because you have the Masters of the Universe Summit that's coming up in Vancouver, July 14th and 15th. Tell us more about that.
Oh man, this conference I was going to a bunch of conferences and I would like meet a new best friend or learn so much, but I didn't love every aspect of every conference. So I was like, I'm just going to create my own. So it's really a conference that's based on the idea of self-mastery, that it's just this ongoing process. And I think we often master certain areas of our life that are usually found through failing in those areas of life. Or like for me, my relational desire to learn about relationships was very selfishly focused first, was to help myself first. And so I brought together a bunch of speakers that are experts in different areas like finance, money, relationship to self, relationship to body, relationship to food, and relationship to your purpose. And so I take like all of these different speakers, and it's only 200 people. It's in Vancouver in the summer on Granville Island. So it's like, I think, one of the best learning environments. And there's a little bit of a party on the Saturday night with live music, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just community and learning about how to become better.
That sounds amazing. Well, we're going to have links below this video, so people in Vancouver, or wherever you are across Canada, can find out more about it. So thank you. So thank you so much, Mark, for being here today. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to this week's Weekly Juice. You will see me next week for our Weekly Juice. And in the meantime, go kick some butt. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.